Well, in business, the US putting major firms from China on a blacklist, accusing them of aiding the Chinese military. The Pentagon naming tech giants Alibaba, Tencent and Baidu. Automakers BYD and NIO also on that list, alongside memory chip makers CXMT and YMTC. The US Defense Department flagging as a possible associate of the Chinese military Wuxi AppTec as a major service provider to some of the world's biggest pharmaceutical companies. Humanoid robot startup Unitree, LiDAR sensor maker RoboSense, and leading solar and battery manufacturers in China all added to the Pentagon's list as well. The update replacing last year's version and released less than a month after meeting between the US and Chinese presidents. Beijing's response today hitting out at what it sees as an unreasonable behavior from Washington.
中方一贯坚决反对美方泛化国家安全概念，画设各类名目的歧视性清单，无理打压中国企业。我们敦促美方纠正错误做法，停止对中国企业的无理打压行径。中方将采取必要措施，坚定维护中国企业的正当合法权益。
CNA's Otelli explains what it means to be listed on the US's Chinese military companies roster.
Now, the Pentagon's Chinese military companies list is a roster of firms that Washington believes is linked to China's military or related entities. Now, it does not impose any sanctions or prevent them from doing business in America. Instead, the designation serves to increase scrutiny and could potentially impact future investment or contracting opportunities with the U.S. government. Now, the U.S. move targets the so-called military-civil fusion strategy in China that boosts cooperation between civilian innovation and military development. Washington believes certain cutting-edge civilian technologies can be put to military use and could contribute to China's defense capabilities. Now, China has rejected such allegations. And many major firms in the U.S. as well maintain close ties with the U.S. Defense Department. SpaceX, for example, helps launch satellites linked to national security. Now, Palantir helps develop software used by defense and intelligence agencies. And traditional defense firms Boeing and Lockheed Martin have long supplied the U.S. military. And that has prompted critics to ask if similar standards are being applied in the U.S.
And CNA's Guan with a response from Chinese firms.
The companies have responded rather strongly. Baidu tells CNA it rejects its inclusion on the list. It says there's no credible justification for adding Baidu and that the suggestion that it is a military company is entirely baseless. It also says that it will use all options to have itself removed. Alibaba, meanwhile, has taken a similar line. It says there's no basis to conclude that it should be placed on the list. It says Alibaba is not a military company, not a Chinese military company, not part of any military-civil fusion strategy. It also says it will take all available legal action against attempts to misrepresent the company. Biotech firm Wuxi AppTec, meanwhile, has also rejected the designation, calling it incorrect and saying that it will take immediate action to challenge it. So these companies are rejecting the basic premise of Pentagon's designation. They are saying they are commercial companies, not military-linked entities. For their reputation, that really matters, because for many of these firms, the concern is not only whether they will lose US defense contracts, they don't really have much of it. It is whether the investors, the partners, their customers, their overseas governments that they deal with begin to view them through a national security lens. We are seeing that sensitivity even in our own reporting too here in our Shanghai bureau. I have been preparing a separate story on Western pharma companies deepening partnerships with Chinese biotech firms. We had already filmed B-roll at one particular Chinese pharma company and were waiting for a key interviewee's schedule to free up for the main interview. This was a company with multi-billion-dollar deals with US drug giants and had been open to speaking with us. But this afternoon, its PR team told me they wanted to postpone the interview indefinitely until a less sensitive time and explicitly cited today's news as one of the reasons. We're not naming the company because that story is unrelated to the Pentagon list, but it does show you how cautious some Chinese firms are becoming in this climate.